I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous every time I do a live stream, even though I've done live streams so many times. Like, I literally have done hundreds of live streams at this point, but I was doing it repeatedly every night for like a year, I think. Or no, more than that, for like years, but on and off I was doing live streams like every night. And I think I got used to it, and then I took a really big chunk of time that I didn't do any live streams, and if I did, it was of other people, like it wasn't of me. So live streams are very different than video because you're talking and it's live, and you can like go back and edit it, and so it's really good though. I think if anyone has a chance to do live stream, I really suggest it because it's really, it kind of like forces you to just accept whatever is in the moment and just say it and just be okay with it, and forces you to be authentic. Hello, Joe. Wow. Hello, Andrew. My favorite people are already like here. It's really awesome. So I'm just gonna give you guys a few minutes to join, and I want to talk about geo-arbitrage. So like a little bit, for anyone that like doesn't know, although I think you guys already know, like geo-arbitrage is basically leveraging the place where you live. So you live in one place, you live in, you're like a citizen of one country, you move to another country, you take advantage. So let's say you're a Syrian person, and there's a special program for Syrians in Germany. So you are a Syrian person of nationality, and then you leverage the fact that you're a Syrian nationality, and you leverage that in Germany. So you go to Germany so you can get a job. You leverage it to get maybe like federal aid, money, special opportunities, whatever that is, whatever that like opportunity is. And then there's like the flip side, like let's say you're German and you leverage that to go to a cheaper country. Let's say you go to Indonesia. Let's say you go to Colombia. You're American, you go to live in Colombia, in Thailand, or whatever. So leveraging your nationality with wherever you're living. So, or leveraging the language because maybe you have the special edge. So Joe is asking if I'm still in Bali. Yes, I'm still in Bali. I don't know if you could tell, it's very Balinese style. So I personally have been geo-arbitraging for a really long time. It's been about 2 years since me and Andrew, my partner, have like traveled the world. We lived in Colombia for almost a year. We lived all over Mexico, Central America, South America, and then now we're in Bali for the past 4 months. We're in Bali, in Indonesia. But even before that, in the States, I was moving around a lot. I was leveraging having a job in one place and then going and living in another place. So when I started, I was in LA. I had a job in LA. It was a writing job. And then I took my writing job in LA that paid me a certain amount. And then I leveraged it in a cheaper place, which was, for me at the time, it was DC. So I was getting paid LA salary, and then I was living in Washington, DC, which was cheaper than LA. So that was my first geo-arbitrage, where, like, let's say you're making $4,000 a month, $4,000 a month, let's say, and then rent in Los Angeles is $2,000 a month, and then rent in DC is $1,000 a month. I'm just like throwing it out there. So you have an extra $1,000 a month to play with. Not to mention your taxes are cheaper. So that's within the same country, even geo-arbitraging within the same country. So I had a job from Los Angeles, and then going to live in DC, going and paying taxes in DC, and paying the rent in DC, much reduced cost of living, save money on taxes. So basically, I have like a better lifestyle because even though I'm making the same amount of money, I have a better lifestyle because I'm going and living in another place. Joe says, I thought DC would be expensive because of all the politicians. And actually, DC is very expensive compared to other places, which is why I moved from DC to Virginia. I ended up moving from DC to Charlottesville. And then I moved from Virginia to Texas. And so even within that, I kept finding cheaper place to move to, cheaper place. And then even after I moved to Texas, I was like, wow, Dallas is so much cheaper than Virginia, which is so much cheaper than, or the place where I was in Charlottesville was cheaper than DC, but it's still not the cheapest that it could be. Maybe I still want to go somewhere cheaper, and I want to go to Columbia and like these other places where it's even cheaper than Dallas, much cheaper than Dallas. Actually, Dallas is so expensive right now. I don't know if any of you guys have been there recently. Dallas is like crazy. Joe, I don't know if you've, like Dallas is becoming like LA prices almost, because so many people from LA are moving to Dallas, and they're still moving there. It's still like, it still hasn't peaked. I mean, if anyone owns real estate. Andrew Christopher says, do you live in Arlington in Virginia or Arlington, Texas? What a prodigal heel. So before geo-arbitraging between countries, I was doing that in the States, and of course it's very profitable because you're, oh, okay, Andrew Christopher lives in Arlington, Texas. Yeah, Arlington, Texas, which is in DFW, that's a really great place right now because that's, I think, one of the best places to live in, or at least to own property, not to, you know, not to live in if you're only spending money, but if you have a business or you own property, that's a really good place right now because a lot of people are moving there because it used to be, it hasn't peaked at all. Like it used to be that everybody was avoiding Arlington because it's in between Fort Worth and Dallas, and it's kind of like it was kind of like ghetto. Like, I don't know if I should say ghetto, but it was not the best place always, all parts of Arlington, but I think now it's really, really bumping up. Like everybody's moving there because you could get really nice homes, big plots of land for relatively cheap compared to other parts of Dallas or Fort Worth. So yeah, Arlington, really awesome. Prodigal Heel used to live in Fort Worth. Andrew Christopher says you lived here for 40 years. That is awesome. Do you own real estate in Arlington? I'm actually very curious what your experience has been. And wow, living in Fort Worth, that's interesting. So when I first started doing this, like when I first did my first LA to DC geo-arbitrage in the cities in the US, people, a lot of like my family, relatives, and family friends would say, what's so special about that? You're not becoming richer. You're moving between, you're not becoming a richer person by moving from LA to DC. In fact, you're probably making your dollar amount less because you're like, now you're just getting yourself acclimated to making less money. So how is this so special? You're still, you make $4,000 a month, you move from LA to DC, maybe your lifestyle is better, but you're still, or you move from LA to Dallas, maybe your lifestyle is a little better, but like you're still poor. You're still like, and like that's what they would tell me is like, oh, you're still poor. You're still making that same amount. So what's so special about that? And like, how is this profitable? And I had so many conversations like this, like, no, I don't want to move to a place where my money goes farther. I just want to make more money. And I really respect that mentality in some ways because what they're essentially saying, and this really works, especially if you're negotiating a lot, like you're in a 9-to-5 job and you're negotiating your salary, what they're communicating basically is that they're saying, I want to be able to negotiate more money. I don't want to move to a place where it's cheaper and then get used to cheaper lifestyle and then my price goes lower and then I tell people that that like I totally respect that because it's true that like, you know, you ask for what you believe that you're worth and what is necessary, and generally if you're moving to a cheaper place, your negotiating level could go down because you might have a less appetite for a higher number amount. But I think that that's just for the negotiating side. If you're in a 9 to 5 job, and all you need to do in order to keep the job is negotiate a higher salary, then that applies. But it's not really sustainable, like, because you're also losing the ability to build in that place. You're losing just the value of your money, just so that you can be better at negotiating. So just practice your negotiating skills in a different way. Okay, hold on. Let me just look at some of your comments. Prodigal Heel says, Cowboys, Six Flags, Rangers, all in Arlington. Yeah? Yeah, that's pretty cool. Joe says, LA, or I think SoCal in general, is getting more and more expensive. Yeah, and that hasn't peaked either, because we're constantly here in Bali, we're constantly meeting people that want to move to LA. They want to move to California. They think it's very exotic, and people from all over the world, that they actually see the US as a tax haven, because let's say where they're from or their lifestyle, they're paying so much more money. So like people think it's, oh, I'm just gonna wait until it peaks and it's only gonna get cheaper. No, it won't get cheaper. It's gonna get more expensive for sure, and it's gonna get more restrictive too, because the people that are coming to California they had it worse in other places. The bar was worse. Joe says, sorry, let me just. Andrew says, my parents gave me their house. That is really awesome. Arlington is a really great place to own real estate. And yeah, just keep leveraging it. Like, eventually if you want to rent it out, fix it up, like make money from it. Joe says, they keep raising the minimum wage thinking it will fix things, but it just makes it worse. Yeah, they're just raising the bar. What up, Josh? Josh says, are you giving out any Pardes favors? Andrew says, Arlington's gone downhill in the last 10 years. Crime is crazy now. Yeah, crime is crazy everywhere in the States. Like, that's that's just what I'm understanding, like, in a lot of places. And I think not just in the States, I think crime is crazy mostly in Western countries and like European countries. And I was just having this sort of like conversation on Twitter this morning, like all the countries basically where everybody thinks are like rich countries are, or like not even rich, like maybe white or Western, like I don't know how to describe it, but there's like the countries that everybody thinks are like the cool countries. Those are probably the worst countries to live in. Those are where you're gonna have a lower quality of life. You're gonna generally be living in bad conditions. Your food is probably not gonna be real food. You're going to be paying much higher taxes, and you're going to be surrounded by a lot of crime. And those are like the places where the crime is attracted to because they have a brand name. So like all these pickpockets, like I was talking about Barcelona, for example. When we were in Colombia, which Colombia is an awesome place, and we loved being in Colombia in South America. When we were in Colombia, everybody that we talked to wanted to move to Spain because they thought Spain, Barcelona, Madrid, those were like the cool places to be. Those had brand names. And to me, like, I was just baffled because when I was in Barcelona, like, they said like 1 in every 3 people in Barcelona is a pickpocket. It's crazy. Like, Barcelona is where the pickpockets specifically go to. They go to Barcelona to do their job. They travel, and then someone else said it's like this in we were in Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires is definitely like this. And Rome and Italy and like all these like European places. Like, people go to these places to commit crimes. Like when I was in LA, everybody thought Beverly Hills is like the safest place because Beverly Hills is the rich area. That's where people pay the highest taxes. That's where the houses are the most expensive. But the thing is, and they also have their own patrol, but the thing is that was actually the least safe area because people were traveling from all over LA, California, from all over. People, these really professional people that had trucks, they were like moving companies, but they were actually not, like, they were like basically like pickpockets with trucks or like, what do you call them? Burglars, professional burglars with trucks would come to these neighborhoods in Beverly Hills, and they would basically just like take everybody's shit. Sometimes they had guns. They would hold like the maids or cleaning people at gunpoint and take all the stuff. And they would do this in Beverly Hills. They weren't going to Compton to do this. They were going to Beverly Hills to do this. So sometimes being the rich area, the neighborhood with the rich people, makes you more of a target. And here, actually, even in like third world countries, like in South America, in Bali, and anywhere we go, the places where I like to avoid in general is the rich places, like the places that are considered the most like high end whatever. I like to be mostly around the locals because people, the worst of society is going to be attracted to those uppity places. There's a bee, there's a bee. Okay, this is a nice bee. Another reason why I was kind of nervous to have a live stream is because there's so many bees, and I get so uppity. So yeah, there's clear advantage to geo-arbitrage. There's clear advantage to moving to another place, and it's not only because you get to have a better lifestyle in the moment. It's you get to invest in yourself in a way that you wouldn't have been able to do in that other place. You know, people say, well, it's like, what's the value of having an extra $100,000? Well, I get to invest, you know, I get to build a business, and the business will make me more money, and I get to have more time to, you know, I don't have to live month to month. I get to have more time. What is this bee doing? I'm actually confused. Interesting. Okay. I get to have more time to invest in myself, to become like a more relaxed person, to become more well-read, to learn the skills that I need to, let's say, make more money and do more things. And the cost of doing that is not universal. You can do that for $1,000, or you can do that for $100,000. Like, if you have 100, you know, if your goal is, let's say, I want to become, I want to start a dog shelter. I'm just using this as an example because I know somebody that has this goal. So let's say your goal is that you want to open a dog shelter, or like a dog, whatever, dog daycare or dog shelter. So if you live in LA, let's say, that's going to cost, I don't even know, however much money it costs to buy a place, to get the permitting for it, because there's like a lot of permitting requirements. The cost to hire people, the cost to live there and be there, like, it would cost a lot of money. Maybe millions, I don't know. It would cost a lot of money. But if you were to, let's say, and then at the same time, there is the cost of building the operation that you want to build that's going to make you money, but then there's also the cost of the time it takes that you're building the thing and you're not making any money. So you need to be working at a loss. You need not only the money to build the thing, you need the money that it's going to take for you to continue living during the time that it takes to build that thing. So let's say you need a couple $1 million, but then you also need, let's say, 6 months to set it up. 6 months, which is being very generous. 6 months so that you can, which is being very conservative, actually, not conservative, like bold. Like 6 months, let's say you're setting up the business, and then you're also waiting to get customers, you're waiting to get the dogs in, you're waiting for the permitting to go through. Like, let's say in LA, the permitting stuff, it takes longer. So you have more hoops to jump through. You need more legal or representation, which is going to cost more money. But then also you need more time for it to all go through. And the time costs money, because the time costs the money that it takes for you to survive until that happens, for you to eat, live in a place, you know, be healthy. And then so all of that is money. So what if you were to go live in a place where you could do that in a such cheaper way, in a such faster way, in a such easier way, and you can develop your process in that place. Let's say you move to a place where the cost of living is so tiny, you don't need to get permitting to do that. You could do it in a much less official way. You can, the cost of living until you develop your process is much lower. And then when you're working at a certain price point that matches LA and you're experienced enough that you feel confident that you can do it, maybe you can move back to LA. Maybe you don't have to. But it's not only an investment in your business, so you're actually able to make this huge business that you wouldn't have been able to do, which is going to be very profitable, by just moving to a place where the bar is lower for you. And for different people, it could mean a different thing. Like geo-arbitrage could mean, depending on what your goal is. Let's say your goal is, I want to become more pretty. I want to become more beautiful. So for me, like, I was in a community where I was in like the Persian Jewish community, which was like very niche. And so I was around other Iranians, mostly Iranian Jews. And I felt like I want to be really pretty. But in order to be really pretty in that community, because I look very similar to everybody in my community, I have to put so much effort to look a certain way. Then if I were to just step outside of my community, I could just step outside of the Iranian community, outside of the Jewish community, totally different place where people look so different than me, then all of a sudden I barely have to put any work and I'm already the prettiest person there to those people, because I'm just exotic, I'm different. And so it's just always going to be easier to be more valuable in a place where you're rare, because you're not competing with anybody. You basically you've basically kicked out all competition by literally just placing yourself in a different market. And the farther out you go, the easier it gets. You speak a different language. You are part of a different paradigm. One thing that I've noticed is that the people that are the most successful in the United States, in Western countries, the people that are able to like game the system the best are people that are coming from a different paradigm. So in a lot of Western countries, the paradigm is very much a certain way. Like, people think a certain way, they're kind of raised a certain way. Like, they're raised to maybe be as humble as possible. Like, don't be greedy, don't, like, wealth is bad, whatever. Like, in a lot of other countries where people are a little bit more in survival mode, the culture is a little bit more hustly, a little more shrewd. So you're coming in from like a country like Syria, a country like Iran, or even Russia, a lot of Russians here in Bali. The culture is very different. People are less concerned with like not being too greedy. They're more concerned with just making it work, survival. They're more kind of hustle oriented. So you put them in an environment where everyone is sort of complacent and just like, let's be humble. So you put a person who is more survival minded in an environment like that, they're gonna kick ass just by being so different. But then on the flip side, you put a Westerner who is less shrewd, let's say, less survival minded, and you put them in an environment where people are so different, where people don't trust each other, but they're more likely to trust you as a Westerner because they see you as being very unique. So whereas it might have been harder if you are a Westerner, like if you're an American and you're in a place like Colombia, if you're an American and you're in Colombia and you have a business, because I watched Andrew do this a lot. So Colombians don't show the same excitement to work for other Colombians, for another Colombian who has a business, than they would for an American. They would much rather work for an American. From what I've seen, Colombians trust an American to work for them, and they would even if they were getting paid less, they would be more willing to, but they would be much more willing to jump through more hoops for an American than they would for other Colombians. Whereas, like, if you're an American, it's really hard to get other Americans to want to be motivated to work for you and to do things for you. So, like, because you're the same as them and you're a dime a dozen, they can just find another American to work for, or to do something for, or to work with. You know what I mean? So, literally just being different for your market, being different compared to your peers, is going to give you an edge that is so valuable that if you would have stayed in your own country, that would have cost so much money, time, resources, network, special things. Another thing is that, let's say you're an American or a Westerner and you stayed in your own hometown. You are basically stuck to your social level. So you're stuck, let's say you're American and you live, and most Americans that I know are very poor, and they're very poor-minded. They speak one language. Their survivability is very low. Like, if the dollar were to crash, like, they would be screwed, and they would have no idea how to, like, fend for themselves. But if you were to take American who's like living in like a trailer house or a trailer camp or whatever, and you take that American and you put them in Nepal, let's say, in Kathmandu. And in Kathmandu, there's like maybe 4 or 5 other Americans that are living in your town. No, there's a lot of Americans in Kathmandu, but let's say there's like 4 or 5 other Americans that are in Kathmandu, in your town, in your area, in your neighborhood. And you meet with them. They don't know or care that you are from this trailer house, that your skills are like this, that you know this or that. They don't care anything. They just know that you're American, and you really stand out for the market, and you basically end up on the same level as those other people. You basically are turbo boosted into having those opportunities to work with those people, to do things with those people, to be friends with those people, to learn from those people. And those people could be billionaires. Those people could be politicians. They could be the ambassador to Nepal or whatever. Like, you have changed and the thing is, those people, if you would have put those people back in your hometown, only the wealthiest, most well-connected people would have had contact with those people. But you have basically just skipped all of that and hacked the whole situation by putting yourself in a market where you're very unique and special. Okay, I'm gonna take a minute to look at the comments. Oh my gosh, these comments are so funny and random. Joe says, what do you do for fun in Bali? Honestly, since we got here, I've really been focused on healing, and I've seen huge differences in my health, like my body, because if you've been following this channel for almost a year, like maybe a year and a half, maybe like between 7 and 9 months, Andrew and I were very sick. We got very sick in Argentina, and then we moved to Mexico, where we started to try to heal a little bit, but there was just so much that we were dealing with, like mentally in our bodies. Like our bodies had been in fight or flight for so long. Hello, Sonu. We were in fight or flight for so long that certain things started to break down in our bodies. Ear infections, diarrhea, like a lot of fight or flight related issues. And then we were in a town in Chiapas, Mexico, called San Cristobal. That was a really great town in a lot of respects, and we had a really awesome network there. And also, it was a beautiful town, but they had problem with the bacteria in the water, sewage problem, that because we were already sick, it really like pushed us over the edge. So we got really sick. We were like just diarrhea every single day for about 2 months, a little over 2 months maybe. And we basically mustered all the energy that we possibly could have to come here, to come to Bali, because Ubud is known around the world for being like a very healing kind of place. A lot of resources for healing, like for example, massages for $6 or $7 an hour. And I'm not exaggerating, $6 or $7 an hour for like a really good massage for 1 hour. That's my favorite thing, is like getting constant massages, constant spa. Like, you know, you sign up at a club or something for $50 a month. You have access to just everything club, everything like spa, gym, like whatever you need. Eating a lot of healthy food, coconuts, basically zero processed food, no processed food. A lot of physical activity, and also just a lot of sleeping. And so I haven't been doing like fun in the way that maybe I have done in the past, but we've been doing activities, mostly physical activities is what we do for fun. Going out, trying restaurants in Bali is very fun. Looking at nature, I think looking at nature. There's actually, I'm gonna put on TikTok another really cool little animal that I found yesterday. It was like a caterpillar that has like legs that stick out of his face. There's just a lot of really cool stuff, cool flowers, and physical activities. We've done some rock climbing here, surfing. Next week we want to go scuba diving. But yeah, it's just been very chill. And I used to have varicose veins, and I thought varicose veins are like normal. And I was like, the other day I was looking in the mirror and I noticed that they're basically almost gone. Like, imagine having like very big, thick varicose veins. And if you've ever had varicose veins, usually people have them their whole life. You start to have them and they just get worse. And they're basically like from sitting a lot. If you have an office job and you've been sitting a lot on your chair, your thighs are gonna have varicose veins in them. They're basically like these veins in your legs that are from like a clotted vein, and sometimes they just get tripped up, like shriveled up. Some people go and get them lasered out because maybe they're worried about it being dangerous. Sonu says, do you know what's the meaning of Pardes in Hindi? Yeah, foreigner. And actually, I'm learning a little bit of Hindi. I want to sing songs in Hindi because I think it's very nice. And I've been taking voice lessons. Like later today, I'm gonna have a voice lesson. And I realized that I really like singing in languages that are closer to Farsi because I just feel more like comfortable. I don't feel very confident in English. Okay, but with singing. Okay, so Josh says, you didn't answer my Kathmandu question. Hold on. Okay, so that's Kathmandu. Would I have the same success in Dogmandu? That's so funny. You should go and colonize land, a city, and call it Dogmandu. So, okay. Yeah. I wish you could put a dollar amount on the value that you can get from moving to another place like this. Josh says that I look so much more relaxed than last time. Thank you. I feel generally more relaxed. I think also just taking time. Like, people say that anxiety is like, it's a genetic thing. It's like, and anxiety is in your body. And people kind of treat it like it's something you can't change, especially chronic anxiety. But I think chronic anxiety usually just, like any kind of anxiety, I think you can really fix with your lifestyle and with taking the time to actually, anxiety is just a lot of thoughts, feelings, emotions. You know, pain is like just a lot of sensation that's concentrated in one place. If you were to take apart every single sensation that is happening when you're in pain, let's say, like, what's the difference between me touching this finger versus me pushing this finger so hard that it starts to bleed? You know, I don't know if I'm explaining this well, but it's like this is just setting off a few sensations in my finger, which are manageable, which my brain can handle. But if I were to like push it so hard that it starts to bleed, and there's like arteries are like blood vessels are cut, or maybe even a bone is broken or whatever, like that's setting off more sensations than my brain can handle. So that's what pain is like, basically just an overloading of these sensation. And I think like anxiety is the same, and people aren't used to thinking of it like this because we put everything in boxes, and it's just easier to put a label on things. But when you really think about it, anxiety is just a lot of thoughts. And if you were to just take a lot of time, which most people, especially in poor people, don't have time. When I say poor, I mean somebody that doesn't have time, because time is a huge asset. Because you're busy working 9 to 5, you're busy, you know, getting caught up in social stuff, family stuff. So when you don't have time to actually pick apart all of these thoughts that are in your mind, it all becomes a buzz in the back of your mind, and you start trying to ignore the buzz by blocking it off even more. You start drinking, you start like doing activities and things that will help you avoid all of those thoughts. So instead of addressing all those little thoughts, you're essentially making the problem worse. You're making the problem more chronic. You're forcing it back into your body, and it just becomes worse. So for me, I think the thing that has really helped is I just have time. And I've set up my life in a way, you know, I've set up my life in a way that I just have time to process my thoughts a lot. And I don't know anybody that has as much time as I do. When I talk to people, almost everybody is like anxious or going somewhere or doing something. And the thing is, like, a lot of times I notice when people are really busy and they're like going somewhere, doing something, busying themselves with something, it is to do things to block their minds. Like they're busy doing things in avoidance of their thoughts, because there are things that basically stop you from having to think and process your thoughts. Because if you were to have to think and process your thoughts, you would have to feel through them. And if you have so many thoughts that are overloading you, it might be really uncomfortable in the beginning, because it's like having a closet that's full of clothing and you just keep throwing things in it, and the more time goes on and the closet is gathering garbage and stuff in it, the more uncomfortable it's going to be when you actually start opening the closet and unpacking it and actually like starting to organize the things in it and dealing with it. So that's anxiety to me. And if you're struggling with anxiety, like for me, the priority is really to free up your time as much as you possibly can, to make yourself have so much time to just sit and be with the thoughts and be with them and unpack them, and like eventually become okay with thinking, with just being in your head. And people call this meditation. Which is hard for a lot of people to do. But if it's hard for you to meditate, it's basically just hard for you to be with your own thoughts. Your priority should really be freeing up your time so that your body can feel relaxed enough to actually be with those thoughts. Free up your time, do physical activities that pull you into your body so that the goal is basically to be able to think through your thoughts, and have the time to think through, to be able to be very open to thinking about your thoughts and your feelings and feeling your feelings too. Like that. So I think that's basically what I've been doing. That's what I've been doing this whole time, is feeling through my feelings, thinking my thoughts. If I'm angry at anybody, letting myself be angry. I don't want to talk to them. If I feel anxious about something, letting myself be anxious. I don't want to do this. Okay. You know, not avoiding, not like treating your thoughts and feelings like they're a problem or there's some kind of like disorder or whatever, and actually starting to be very open to them and creating your lifestyle in a way that it just becomes all about your feelings and your thoughts. The comments are just so funny. Okay, I love you guys. So, yeah, that's basically what I think. It really affects your health. Also, if you notice, the people that are having the most health issues are going to be people that are very avoidant, that are like very not willing or able to be with their own thoughts and feelings. And you could be that way if you completely not allow yourself to be in situations that cause you to have thoughts and feelings. But most likely you're not. So, okay. So I'm just looking. I made like a paper because it's been a while since I've done these live streams, and I wanted to like have a few things in case I forget what I wanted to tell you guys, what I wanted to talk about. Moving around, geo-arbitrage. Also, it makes you less likely to engage in behaviors that will make you more poor. So one example of behaviors that will make you more poor is getting stuck in ideological activities, political stuff, radical stuff, things that are very, things that make people poor. Learning more languages, learning more paradigms, really important. Like a lot of people are geo-arbitraging physically, but they're not doing that mentally. Like they'll move to, let's say, Mexico or Thailand or wherever, and they'll just stick themselves in the expat community, and they won't learn the language, and they won't become immersed in another way of being, in another paradigm. And to Westerners, that would be bad because, oh no, you're not bending down and sticking your tushy out for the local culture by learning the language. But the reason that that's a problem for me is that you're making yourself less powerful, and that's all I care about, is being powerful. You're making yourself less powerful when you are only being in your own people that already share your worldview, that are in your own bubble. And it's really hard to step outside of it unless you are learning other languages. It's really hard for me to step out of it unless I'm learning other languages, because when you are speaking another language, you can be exposed to other views about the world, other energy. You're able to hear compliments in another language, and already your view of the world is different. You're able to feel how people feel in another language more, and be able to be exposed to that paradigm. So if all the English speakers think that the world is ending, which is very much the case these days, the English speakers are all thinking that the world is ending. But then you're around a lot of Indians, and this is part of why I want to learn Hindi, is the Indians don't think the world is ending. As a whole, when you're around them, the energy is very different. They don't think the world is ending. They are hungry. They think the world is starting. They think they're very future oriented. And the energy that you're around is going to be really different. and your view of the world becomes very different. It becomes more optimistic. It becomes more wealth-minded because you become more concerned with expanding and building, becoming more powerful, rather than making yourself small, killing yourself, sterilizing. Like, if you only speak English, your view of the world is going to be very much like the world is ending and I have to kill myself. Not only English, even Espanol, because Espanol is mostly spoken in like countries that are very dominated by Western culture. So learning another language that is outside of the paradigm that you live in, I think is really good. I think it's really good to have both. If you have both, you can leverage them against each other. You can buy low, sell high. Buy low in one market, sell high in another market, vice versa. You can make money that way. So what else? What else am I thinking about? Yeah, I guess you get to also learn yourself more. You get to learn yourself more by traveling a little more, and you get to find other places where you meet more people like you. If you're a very unique person, very special, maybe like someone was telling me the other day that she was saying that she feels bad because she feels like everyone is telling her, a lot of people are telling her that she has a bad personality, but she's like, I don't have a bad personality, and I know this. I know I don't have a bad personality because I was in this city and this other city that people told me that people really seem to like me in this other city. So that's how I know I don't have a bad personality. There is no such thing as a good or bad personality. There is only such thing as you, how you see yourself. You can make yourself see yourself in whichever way you want. If you want to be powerful, maybe you want to be in a place where people see you as powerful. You want to be pretty, maybe you want to be in a place where people already see you as pretty. It's a hack. You can work so hard to try to manifest it in your mind and try to like make yourself believe that I am this and I am that, even though my environment doesn't actually look like this and that. But also you're going to become dissociated from your body. What if you actually just pick yourself up and put yourself in a place where people already see you as wonderful, charming, powerful, lovely? People already like your personality. Who cares what anybody thinks? You're not living in a world for other people. You're living in a world just for yourself. You're living in your own world. And if anyone is so bothered by you to try to come in your personal space and try to ruin that for you, or try to like really make you know, but they really have to know that they have a bad personality, like with this girl. Those are hostile creatures. Like those people are getting their sense of satisfaction and self by tearing down another person. They are leeching from her energy, basically. They're leeching from her energy. So it's basically incumbent on her to get rid of those people, because those people are leeching from her energy. Those people, the only way that those people can feel good about themselves or life or whatever they're doing, they're not doing this consciously, probably. They're doing it. They're probably in their mind thinking that they're helping her. They're probably thinking, oh, like she has to know that she has a bad personality. Otherwise, how will she know that she has a bad personality so she can fix it? She doesn't have a bad personality unless she thinks that she has a bad personality. If she doesn't think she has a bad personality, she doesn't have a bad personality. If her personality bothers you, then it is incumbent on you as a person to get TF out of there. Go to a place where you find people that have a good personality. In other words, a personality that matches with your way of being. So that's what geo-arbitrage does also. I realized that the way that I didn't feel really good about myself mostly in English-speaking communities, because I felt like I'm very opinionated, and I can't help but to notice things. If you are in front of me and you have a big, huge mole on your face, I will notice it. And I might say something. And that won't mean that I hate you. It just means that I notice things, and I love to connect with the world, and I love to share. And I also have a hang-up about feeling like a bad person when I'm sharing too much. And I feel like this hang up became so much worse by being in America, because people, the culture there is not, it's more of a northern culture. Candidness is not appreciated. You could easily become seen as a really bad person if you are too obvious about anything. People are very like not connected to reality. They're very dissociated. And if you are the kind of person that says how you feel, what you think, whatever, people will literally step into your personal space to try to shut you up. I felt very much like a bad person. And so I wanted to see myself as good. I wanted to see myself as providing some kind of value to the world. You know, I just want to see myself as a good person. Doesn't everybody? So it's much easier to do that when you move yourself to a place where people's values are more aligned with yours. And I think that anybody can do that. You know, you literally, if you're a serial killer, you can do that. You can geo-arbitrage, find a place where everybody is a serial killer. You can go and live where people are just killing people left and right. And then you can make that your crew. And you can say, see, I'm not a bad person. But I'm using that as an extreme example but that's not even, yeah, I'm using that as an extreme example. But you can put yourself in a place where people are killing for morality. You can say, I'm killing because I'm killing the bad guys. I'm only killing the bad guys. I'm only stealing. I'm Robin Hood. I'm only stealing from the rich people, and rich people are bad. A lot of people do that. I personally wouldn't want to be in that mentality of the Robin Hood mentality, because I want to be rich. So I don't want to be the kind of person that can only see myself as a good person if I am leeching off of other people. And I want to be really far away from people like that. I want to be really open about it. Like, I hate people that are like very lefty, communist-y, like that don't like wealthy people. Maybe people on the right are like this too. I want to be really far away from it. I want those people to know how much I hate them, because I just don't want to be around that energy. Because I want to be wealthy myself. And I don't want that kind of blockage in my life. I don't want that in the in my sphere of influence. But maybe you do. Maybe you see yourself as incapable of ever attracting any kind of abundance, wealth, happiness, positive energy. And if that's you, and all you need in life to feel good is to just feel good about yourself and to see yourself as a good person, maybe that is the right environment for you. Like, literally, I can't think of any kind of person that you could be where the world doesn't have a space for you. I think the world has a space for everybody. And even in the same location, there are so many different perspectives and ways of being and paradigms. And literally anything that you want in the world is out there for you. Literally anything that you can possibly think of. Some people don't even want to be around people that think this way, the way that I do, that the world is abundant and there's everything that you possibly want. So if that's you, and I've actually met people like this too. I met a lot of people like this that are like, if you tell them that what they want is out there, they will get mad at you, because they'll say, no, it's not, because that makes them feel powerless to know that there's so many options, because maybe that makes them feel overwhelmed. And or that makes them feel like they're not doing enough, that there's things that they should be doing that they could be doing that they're not doing. So if that's you, maybe you just need to be in a place where the options are more limited and you are less stimulated. And like, I can't think of a single situation where this doesn't apply. Okay, so how do you even get to this place where you're geo-arbitraging? You're like, Pardes, I'm stuck, I have a job. Prodigal Heel says he might get a new job. Congratulations. Congratulations, by the way. I remember hearing about your job and the situation there, and I'm really excited for you. I hope it works out. If you have a job and you're stuck, not even if you have a job, if you don't have a job, literally, how do you get to this point where you're able to geo-arbitrage in the first place? Because geo-arbitraging requires time, location, independence. it requires some money, some savings. Like, it's hard to do this for some people. So if you want to get to the point where you can do that in the first place, I would highly recommend that you read my book. That's what I'm selling, House Hackers Anonymous. You can find it in the description below at househackersanonymous.com. That's my book. And I'm so sorry that it's not an audiobook, because I know that a lot of you guys would much rather read audiobook. I'm working on it. It's just, it's in a studio that I'm working on it, and I keep doing it wrong. I keep reading it wrong, and I want it to be in my own voice, so I'm taking longer than if I would have just hired somebody to do the audiobook for me. So I'm taking longer. I'm also just trying to be much, much slower than I have been in the past with the way that I move. So if it's taking a while, apologies in advance. I really, really want my voice to be in the audiobook. I want the audiobook to be me. So I'm gonna try to shout it loud and clear from the rooftops. I'm gonna announce on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube whenever the audiobook is out, so that if you aren't reading House Hackers Anonymous because it's not an audiobook, then you can read it, because like I think it's really helpful. It's a book full of hacks. It's basically exactly my personal journey, like my personal little plan of how I have so much time to do this. So, and even if you don't want to do exactly what I did or what I want to do, you can get a lot of good ideas from it. You can read it, see how somebody else did it, and change it completely to fit your personal life. And also a lot of it is just helping you think through the reasons why you don't want to do this, why you don't want to get out there, leverage your situation. A lot of times it's family, friends, like, oh, I don't want to leave the place where my family and friends are. If your family and friends are poor, then like, you're gonna be poor. I don't know how to make you into a miracle that is like able to be just poof, have all these things that you want, when literally nobody in your paradigm, in your reality, in your world is that thing. And usually the thing is, like, usually the family and friends don't even want you to be that thing, because they're afraid that if you're that thing, then they're gonna lose you from being around them, so they just would rather you be poor also. That's usually how very interconnected people are, usually how very poor communities of people are gonna be, and I didn't make the rules. So family, friends is one thing that keeps people behind. Just not knowing, not understanding money is another thing. Like, not having been out there long enough, so just having to learn the landscape, learning how, money is basically just a man-made number amount that people put on energy. So people are constantly exchanging energy. That's how you survive in the world. As whatever you are, human, animal, whatever it is that you are, you're constantly exchanging energy, and that's how you survive. You plant a seed in the soil, put sunlight and water, that's the energy that you put in it, and then it gives you energy back. You pay somebody money to do something for you, and they do the thing for you, that's the energy that they gave you back. So this is just exchanging energy. That's what money is basically just ways, it's a number amount that humans put on this energy exchange that allows us to do it in a more efficient way, so you don't have to, let's say, like, kill someone or force someone to do the things for you that you want. So learning about that. And the third thing I would say is just your culture, just being in an environment where other people are doing the same exact thing. It's just, and being in a paradigm where that's possible and abundant. Okay, thanks for watching this, and see you guys in the next video. And I don't know how to turn this off. Literally, how do I turn this off?